The ad campaign Malliotakis ad hammers de Blasio on quality of life in New York. With only a few days before Election Day and hundreds of thousands of dollars left in campaign war chests, voters are likely to see more television advertisements from Mayor Bill de Blasio, the Democratic incumbent, and his Republican challenger, Assemblywoman Nicole Malliotakis. Ms. Malliotakis released 2 new ads this week. One, "I Love New York City," released a day after a terrorist attack in Lower Manhattan, presented an upbeat vision of her candidacy. The other, released on Friday, contained a frontal attack on Mr. de Blasio and his record, and was called, "Can We Afford 4 More Years of Mayor de Blasio?" Spoiler, her answer is no. Producer Brabender cocks the script 4 years. That's all it took Bill de Blasio to wreck our quality of life. And now we're hurting. More homeless today than any time since the Great Depression. Shameful. Housing prices and property taxes so high, people struggling. Our subway system is a disaster, 70,000 delays every single month. And now de Blasio has been caught knee-deep in a corruption scandal. 4 more years of Bill de Blasio? No way. On screen, the first image is of a glittering Manhattan at night, superimposed with a scowling image of the mayor's face, as the script is read in a growl-like imitation of Don LaFontaine. A series of apparently homeless men and women appear next, including a young woman with a sign reading "Homeless, Hungry, Pregnant," while archival footage of men in Depression-era clothing appears superimposed. Next, the camera flies over a community of single-family homes before focusing in on couples of different races who appear to be worrying over bills. After that, we see a couple of rats on the subway tracks and a woman who looks like a frustrated commuter. It ends with an image of City Hall followed by one of downtown Manhattan, clouds gathering above and the same scowling mayor superimposed on top. Accuracy. The ad argues, in broad strokes, that quality of life has worsened in several ways. First, by correctly noting that homelessness has hit record levels during Mr. de Blasio's tenure. The Coalition for the Homeless, an advocacy group, has said the levels are the worst since the 1930s. Mr. de Blasio would be the first person to acknowledge that people are struggling in New York City. But a mayor cannot stop housing prices from rising, nor, perhaps, would he want to. And those rising prices have caused an increase in the amount collected in property taxes under Mr. de Blasio, even though the mayor did not raise the overall rate during his tenure. This has been a frequent critique from Ms. Malliotakis, who pays more in property taxes relative to the value of her Staten Island home than Mr. de Blasio does on one of his brownstones in Park Slope. Mr. de Blasio does not control the subway system, the state does. But many New Yorkers appeared to have realized far earlier than their mayor that the system had gotten worse and something needed to be done. Since the spring, Mr. de Blasio has been vocal on the issue. The ad suggests that Mr. de Blasio was recently caught in a scandal. In fact, Mr. de Blasio's fundraising practices were the source of state and federal inquiries that ended earlier this year without charges. Renewed scrutiny came recently during an ongoing federal corruption trial, in which a major donor who figured in those inquiries testified at length about his close dealings with Mr. de Blasio.